Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Elaine
Glad to be
King, glad
here.
to have you. Welcome to Train and Perform Speaks.
Yes, glad to be here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let everybody know. So Train and Perform Speak is something we do in the gym. I'm Wayne Hawkins. We're now doing it on Zoom. We have Elaine King here to speak, and Train and Perform Speaks is something I wanted to start to educate the community about health, fitness, and wellness. Today we have Elaine King, the great Elaine King. I'm so happy you're here with us. Um, I want you to give people a little bit about your background and what you do. Elaine's a health coach, so go ahead and explain your background and a little bit about what that entails.
Okay, so yes, I'm a health coach. I've been doing it since 2011. Hard to believe. And I support people in making healthy behavior changes so that they can feel at their best over a period of time. So we're looking at things health and wellness related, from weight management to time management to more general self-care. So really helping people implement some of the things that they probably already know how to do or know about, but helping them put together a plan of action so that they can be more successful in doing what they want to do. I get a chance to provide a lot of support, guidance, and a lot of accountability to people. So been doing it on my own, but also now I'm working in a clinical environment,
Nice.
which especially during this time has been very interesting. But I want to tell you, Wayne, new news. So just a couple of weeks ago, I found out that I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach.
Okay,
So I took a test earlier this year.
right.
So now I'm even more official.
Congratulations. You've always been official with me. For the viewers, we're going to talk today about healthy behaviors during COVID. A lot of people are struggling. I got clients telling me they're having trouble working out. Some people aren't sleeping well. People are overly stressed. People are gaining weight. So we're going to get into all that type of stuff and
Okay,
kind of
good.
talk to the community.
Okay, yeah. Some people.
Go ahead, you go.
I'm finding that depending upon where a person was with their behaviors before this all hit, it really is telling the story of where what's happening now.
Yeah.
So if their battery was full with what they were doing with their behaviors and well, physically and mentally, then they're thriving, not without uncertainty and ups and downs, but overall they're thriving. But if they were already having some struggles in certain areas, then those can be more amplified.
Right.
So I think it's important to acknowledge where we are, because you only can do so much with where you're at, right?
Can you share that Mr. Miyagi analogy?
Yes.
I love that. Can you share that for the viewers?
Yeah, so when it comes to making behavior changes, we see people out in the world who are doing some amazing things, right? When it comes to physical movement, how they eat, their meditation practice, and it's all great stuff. But then a person will try to start those behaviors and they come up against some roadblocks. And it's like, well, how do I implement these things? And so we end up either trying a lot of different things, or some people just freeze and do nothing. So I found with coaching, the best approach to making those behavior changes so that you can get where you want to be is to start really small, those small behaviors. So like in the Karate Kid, when what was the Karate Kid's name? When he was starting to learn, the Karate Kid himself. Yeah.
Daniel's son.
Daniel's son, yes. So when he was learning about how to be a Karate Kid, not even knowing what he was doing, Mr. Miyagi had him washing his cars and waxing, wax on, wax off. And after a while, Daniel's son was like, why am I just, doing work for you? And Mr. Miyagi's like, just do it and you'll see. And we know the end of the story is that by the end, all of those different movements were creating the foundation for him to become a person who beat the best, right? And so those foundational movements were key. And so when it comes to making behavior changes, those small things that we do built up over time are key. even if, because some things it's like, well, this is basic. Of course I can walk for 5 minutes.
Right.
But you walk for 5 minutes now, it leads up to 10 minutes later, and then before you know it, you might be running a marathon. But it starts with that first 5 minutes, building the foundation.
How does someone start, Elaine? Why is it so hard for people to change behavior?
Well, it depends on where you are with your stage of change. So in some ways, and we're first of all, we're not going to be in the same place in every single area of our life,
Right.
right? So we have to understand that. You may be doing really well, actually, let's say with your exercise. That might be a plus for you, but
Right.
you seem to keep struggling with, let's say, healthy eating. So first, what I say is to acknowledge what you're doing well and to say, okay, these are the areas I'm doing well in. How am I accomplishing that in that area? And then you use those tools to do the thing that you want to do. So you think about, am I at a point where am I brand new with this? Like, have I not never done this before? When, let's say, healthy eating, or am I just a little bit off track? And once you establish where you are, then that kind of dictates how you move forward. But the main thing is we just have so many things that we're being bombarded with.
Right.
I think it really comes down to just paring it down and saying,
Right.
okay, what's the best place for me to start and how can I do it? That's
Right.
best for my environment, my lifestyle.
What have you been doing personally for yourself in regards to this stressful time? What have you been doing?
hmm So when this first started, honestly, being an introvert, I was like, "Yay, I get to work from home, and this is gonna be nice."
Right.
So I just continued some of the behaviors that I had been doing as far as eating and movement and sleep, but I had these ideas that I was going to be doing all this um, extra cooking and
Right.
experimentation, and
Right.
honestly, I haven't done any of that. I've just kind of stayed with my basics
Right.
because that just felt most comfortable with the habits that I already had. What I did start including as far as supplementation is elderberry.
Right.
Honestly, I've been taking that since September. I've taken it for the last few
Now,
years.
now explain to people why you're doing that. Because some people are like elderberry. What is that? Is that like blueberry?
Oh, yeah, elderberry is a very potent berry. I take it in the actual juice form. It's 100% juice,
Right.
and it's antiviral.
Okay.
That's one of the things that it does. It helps to build your immune system.
Gotcha.
So I started taking it by recommendation several years ago, uh, before the fall.
Okay.
Because that's when viruses start to hit. So I usually stop taking it like near the winter when the winter's ending.
Right.
But COVID hit, and so I continue to take the elderberry. I also started taking some vitamin C,
Okay.
and I do a food version. So I do camu berry,
Okay.
which I get in a powder.
Right.
It's 10 times more potent than lemon.
So people know about vitamin C. They know orange juice. We've been hearing that since we were children. Tell
Mhm.
the audience a little bit about what vitamin C does.
It's another one of those immune boosters.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to keep your system guarded from those anti-agents that want to come in and
Right.
really eat away at you. So it's just building a barrier. That's the main thing. That doesn't mean you're not going to get sick, right? But what it could do is to reduce the effects if you were to get sick. Still drinking lots of water. One of the things that I noticed at the beginning, I show stress with digestive issues.
Mm-hmm.
And as good as I felt being in this environment, I started noticing some digestive stuff going on. I'm like, what is this? And I had to really dial in. Number one, my mental health,
Right.
because yeah, physically I was doing things fine,
Right.
but it was taking a toll mentally. So dial in there, making sure I was drinking enough water. Because my water routine had gotten off. There was one way I was drinking water when I was at the office, and then it was just I had to recalibrate, the routine to get that back on track. So yes, it's been good, but there's also been challenges, along the way. But having that set of foundational behaviors definitely helps, to get through it.
Right. You said something that caught my attention. You said routine. I think
Mm-hmm.
the first week and a half of COVID, I was just all out of sorts, and I actually got on the scale. I gained like close to 5 pounds, and I was just
Okay.
like, man, okay, like what's going on here? I
Mm-hmm.
decided to have a movement challenge, and I tried to bring in clients to engage with me to do it because I needed to make a behavioral change quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Would be a problem, and
Of
some people
course.
did it, and some people didn't because they weren't ready,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
it takes
And
time.
getting,
There are stages. There's different. I've read about like 5 stages of behavioral change and
yes, there are.
contemplation and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
You should look into that because there's something to all that.
Absolutely. And so as a coach, so the 5 stages are pre-contemplation. That's when you're maybe somebody told you that you need to, let's say, lose weight, and you're thinking,
Right,
okay, like the doctor tells you. Contemplation is where you're like, I I'm thinking about that. In the next 6 months, I might want to, get something started. So this is I may kind of stage. Then you have preparation. And that's when in the next 30 days, okay, you're like, I'm gonna do this. You're like getting your information together, getting your environment set up to where you can make those changes. Then you've got action. So then that's when you're actually putting, all the information you gather in place,
mhm,
and it's part of your routine. And then you have maintenance.
yes,
So that's when you're on a track where, you're rolling. But it's important to know that there's relapses in any of those areas.
right,
That's
right,
normal,
yeah,
okay? Because this is not, I tell my clients, this is not a mountaintop experience where you start here and you're just going to go up and then that's it, right? This is more like a wave.
right,
So there's times when you're going to be right on track. There's other times when you experience bumps, maybe complete roadblocks, but there's always going to be an upswing as long as you stay um, conscious
gotcha.
about it. So as a coach, if let's say a person comes to me and they're in the contemplation stage, and they're
Mhm,
like, yeah, I'm thinking about eating healthy, uh, but I'm not really sure. I've done some things in the past, but nothing has really worked. That lets me know that there's certain things they probably need before going all in with a healthy diet.
right,
Okay. They may need more information. They need to take a very small step to get there, smaller than what they think they need, versus someone who was in maintenance stage, like they were doing it like you with the exercise.
right,
You were in maintenance stage when it comes to exercise.
right.
Roadblock for a week and a half, so you went back a stage a little bit,
I
right?
did.
So your goal is not going to be I'm going to work out for 5 minutes,
Right,
right? Your goal is whatever stage you're in at that point, right? That
right,
it would be the same for somebody who's in contemplation stage.
right,
So it has to be mindful about where is that person. Otherwise, the brain wants to rebel and resist. And so that's when we get a person, they're like, man, I really want to do this, but it's not happening for me. Well, you may have taken a step too far, um, too soon. Too
gotcha.
soon. Does that make sense?
How does someone self-regulate to know where they are? Like you're the professional. Okay, they don't have
Mm-hmm.
you. How do they self-regulate? They're watching this right now.
Uh-huh.
How do they figure out where they are? Just is it just a thing of honesty and reading and learning?
That's a great question. I think one of the ways is to see how it feels when you say it.
Right,
Okay, so when you say, "Okay, I'm going to work out 5 days a week for 30 minutes."
right,
What do you feel in your body when you say that?
right,
Is part of your brain saying, you've never done that before, and it's raining outside. There's the conditions aren't favorable.
right, right,
We're not really ready to do that. Even though another part of you is saying, yeah, I want to do this, I need to do it, I should do it. It depends on the level of resistance that you feel. So then you say, okay, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes and see how that feels. And then that might be more like, okay, that's doable. I'm not super excited about it, but I can do it.
right.
Okay. So then that lets you know, okay, I just need to take a smaller step. I'm in a lower stage that I need to start on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Instead of starting at 30 minutes, let's pare it back down to maybe 10 minutes.
Let's let's backtrack a little bit because I think we talked about you being a health coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for people to really understand what that entails and what that involves. And, because
Okay.
somebody's like, well, we're talking about this behavior, I want to talk to her more, let's talk a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about health coaching and how that ties in and some steps and strategies people can use.
Okay. So for instance, you go to your doctor for your wellness appointment and you get your lab work done and you find out, hey, my blood pressure is a little high, my weight is higher than I want it to be. And more than likely, the doctor's going to give you some recommendations. Okay, you need to get the blood pressure down to 120 over 80, and I'd love for you to lose 25 pounds. How often do people hear that, right? And then they leave out of right, they leave out of the doctor's office and they're like, what now? Now, some people, like we just talked about the stages of change, may have some um, resources already in place that they can take, but most people will not. So a coach will be able to come in and say, okay, I can help you with this information that you've just gotten from your doctor.
Right.
And we're going to take it step by step, right? So we start with, okay, a plan. We put a plan in place. So the plan is based on what you've done before that's been successful for you. What challenges did you run into in the past? And this is a learning purposes, because we're going to learn from those challenges for the future. And what would you like to be doing? What is really your motivation for wanting to make these changes at all? If it's just because your doctor said you need to, that lets me know where that person is and where we need to start as well. So we start with what have you done in the past? Then we take a look at, okay, what are some of the healthy behaviors that you'd like to be doing, let's say in 3 months? Okay, and that's setting the vision for where you want to be. And those behaviors need to be very specific because the brain likes to know those details and it will react to the details that you put into your brain. It's like a computer.
Right.
What you put in, you get out.
Right.
So you're very specific, like I'd like to be in 3 months, I want to be walking for 5 days a week for 30 minutes.
Right.
That's your vision for yourself. So those are the big goals that you put in place. But then we break it down and say, okay, starting today, what is one baby step that you're going to take between now and next time we meet together, which could be in 1 week or 2 weeks. And then that's where the real work begins. I like to say it's a roadmap, what we create together, a roadmap of your journey, starting from where you are now to where you want to be, let's say in 3 months. And I'm the person who can see the entire map. Okay, I'm like the GPS system on the side. You're in the driver's seat. But I can see all the different pathways to get to the destination where you want to go.
Right.
So between now, the beginning of that journey and the end, there's going to be some testing, there's going to be some experimentation to find out what works best for you. And so then the sessions are about walking out that journey together. So I'm giving support, guiding you, but also keeping you accountable for those things you said you were going to be working on, in the interim. And so what happens is people come out feeling like, wow, I am becoming a different person. So the idea is not that you are a person who's checking off the boxes. Yeah, I did it, I did it, I did it. Sustainable change happens when it becomes who you are. It becomes intrinsic to where you just do this because this is what I do, right? That doesn't happen overnight, right? But it starts with taking a very small step. That's the key.
Now you said 12 weeks. That could be an ideal kind of timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you personalize it like we do with training. How often and I know this varies, but how often would the average person contact you? Is it a weekly, bi-weekly? Does it depend on where you
Bi-monthly.
are? Okay. Okay.
Usually bi-monthly, because I want them to have time to implement what they say they're going to do.
So you almost give them like homework, almost like homework assignments.
Well, I don't tell them what to do, actually. So they come up with it. They decide what they want to do with some guidance.
Correct.
But I have found when I tell somebody you need to do this, a lot of resistance comes up.
Right, because they're not a part of the goal. They're not a part of the goal.
They're not a part of the goal, right?
So something like that in training. It's called the ABC system.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to make them part of the goal.
Mm-hmm. And that's why coaching is very different from like therapy. Okay. So a therapist is going to say, okay, you need to do this, this, and this. And they may do a lot of the talking even in a session. But a coach is going to, it's a, it's a co-creation of the plan.
Right.
And my role is to help you implement the things that you say that you want to do. So it's not just me giving out a lot of advice. It's helping you do the things that you want to do.
Gotcha.
Which in the end, if you think about how people work, um, they're more likely to do the things that they want to do versus what someone has just told them to do for the long run. Now, it works for like a short period of time. Like I do detoxes. If I tell someone what to do for a detox, like this is what you eat, when, where, they can do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month.
Right.
But after that, if it's not really ingrained into them, they may not continue with that behavior. So I've found that when they think about it, it makes it much more solid.
So let's play a little game here.
Okay.
Give me obviously not gonna name names, but give me a scenario where you work with someone, but there was just so many challenges they struggled. And then on the flip side, give me a success story so we can kind of take the listeners on that journey and see how both of those things look. Someone
Mm-hmm.
might see themselves within those in your talk there.
Yeah. So I have a member, one who struggled and continues to struggle. She went to her doctor. We had been working together for a few weeks and went back to the doctor for some dry skin, extremely dry skin. And the doctor, thank goodness, said, you need to drink some more water. And I think that will really help you because this woman was drinking maybe 1 bottle of water a week, literally. Literally.
Wow.
And so when she came back from the doctor's appointment, this was just a few weeks ago, and she said, well, I asked her, what does she want to work on? What's a baby step? And she probably should work on drinking some more water because that's what the doctor just told me.
I'm still trying to process. What does she drink?
Coffee.
Wow.
That was the main thing, coffee, and then some kind of sugary drink. I don't know if it was soda or juice, but it wasn't just plain water.
Wow.
I know, it's unbelievable. But this is not unnormal. What I found, Wayne, we really get down to the nitty gritty with people. Just we got to backtrack. With what are you doing the basics? So she said, well, probably should work on this water. And I said, okay, so how much water are you drinking now? And that's when I found out. And I found out that she was drinking water when she took her medicine in the morning. And she said, I drink about half a cup, when I take my medicine. And I said, okay, so what would be the next best step for you? She said, I probably could drink 32 ounces. I don't know. And I said, and how does that feel to you? She said, like, I can't do it. That sounds impossible.
Right.
And so I said, how about you drink just one glass? Just start with one glass in the morning when you're drinking your medicine, taking your medicine. Because whenever you attach one behavior to another, you're more likely to succeed with it.
Right.
You attach it to something else you're already doing. So she's like, okay, that sounds doable. We get back to the next session 2 weeks later, and she's still a half a cup. She's still a half a cup. And so we explored some other things. What was really going on with her, what is really going on with her is stress, stress management. And I actually, because when a person is having that much trouble, especially with something that little, it could be an opportunity for them to see someone else, right? Because there's obviously something that's really stuck there. If they're constantly struggling, even with the really small things, it may be an opportunity to see a behavioral health person, okay? So that resource was made available to her. She also thought, okay, I need a getaway, with my husband. We're gonna do that pretty soon. So she almost had to redirect her focus because the water thing just wasn't working. So that's an example of someone when they're struggling, what do? Sometimes you have to redirect, okay? Redirect the goal. Sometimes it means they need other support.
Gotcha.
So an example where someone was having some challenges and now they're, flourishing a guy I've been working with for almost a year and a half now, his reason for coming was hypertension.
Right.
So his cholesterol was sky high. He told his doctor, and the doctor agreed that he should work on some other things first before getting started with medication.
Right.
Which that's wonderful to hear. So he came to me, and that was his ultimate motivation. And he was the kind of person where, you know, he enjoyed the standard American diet, and that's what he ate without much thought to it. And he wasn't doing much exercise. But he also was the kind of person who did not want to be told what to do. Now, even as a coach, sometimes I find myself, you know, struggling with giving advice. And with him, I could tell whenever I made that mistake, that wasn't going to work.
Right.
So we really had to take the approach of, what are you willing to do? So he started with very small steps with his eating. That was his first strategy to approach the cholesterol. So how he ate, and that it was just a matter of, okay, let me include one vegetable that I like into my diet once a day. And then it amplified to exercise, and it went to looking at his sleeping habits. So when COVID hit, he was already in a trend of doing some really good things. And when I talk to him now, he's like, yeah, you know, it's tough, you know, being home here with the family, but actually I'm feeling pretty good, you know. And I said he plans in his own mind now how he can address possible roadblocks.
Right.
And he's doing really well. So it's neat to see if a person really grasps that small step approach, how it can really make a difference. And his son, he learned that how to do that with his son too. So it's been like a ripple effect for the family.
That's great. Thanks for sharing those stories, because I think people need to hear that. I think it's very important. Let's finish up with talking about quick strategies or things people can do right now while they're sitting at home. Some people are working 9 to 5 from their house. Let's talk about some things they can do right now. Are there things you suggest?
Okay. I would say number one, give yourself some grace, right? Because this is a tough time. There's no doubt about it. Topsy-turvy. It was tough when we went into it, and now that we're coming out of it, I'm seeing more anxiety, you know, ramping up with the unknown. So give yourself some grace. You're not going to be 100% where you were before, and that's okay. So knowing that if you have a desire to make some changes, start very small. So what is one thing you can implement today that may feel a little uncomfortable, but it's doable? Let's say adding 15 minutes to your sleep. I'm going to go to bed 15 minutes before I did last night, you know, so that I can get some better rest. And just focusing on that one thing, do it for a couple of weeks. If it feels good, then add on to it. But I think it really takes a really small step approach. Don't try to do everything you see people doing on social media.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Take your own journey.
Listen, I want to thank you for your time. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Definitely love to have you back several times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to talk about that sugar in the future.
Yes, maybe make a smoothie.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
No
Yes, this has been a long time coming, and
sure.
I'm thankful I'm able to support you.
I appreciate that. How can people reach you? You got you got wealth of information, and you are definitely needed in the community. I've always wanted to have you work with people in my gym, because you're gifted at what you do, and I know that. I hope they can see that with this talk. But you got a lot more than what we talked about, so definitely want to have you back.
Right. So I'm in Kansas City, number one, for your viewers who don't know. So unfortunately, I'm not as accessible. I will come back. I will.
Let them know you're from the Lou now.
I'm from the Lou, absolutely. I'm an STL girl for sure. Just moved here a couple of years ago. But the best way to reach me is through my website. So simply-healthy.com. Simply-healthy.com. You can contact me through there. I've got a free, actually, sugar detox that they can sign up for if they're interested in that. It's a freebie. So, so that's the easiest way to get in touch, through my website.
Well, listen, thank you for having or coming on. Love to have you back. Take care. I'll be in touch with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.